So my goal in this video is to go through the plumbing system and point out any points that need attention, either at startup or winterization at the end of the season. So I guess we'll start with the sand filters. On top of each one is gonna be a little purge valve. What this does is it lets air or water out. They should all be open during the winter for air to come in the top of the filter and allow water out down there. Can you see it? There it is. So each one of those gets a cap and some Teflon tape. And same thing for this one over here. And when we start up, we have to allow these to fill with water and air to come out of there, and then we shut them. And they pretty much stay shut once we get all the air out for the entire season. So these are all just once a year tasks. Emptying in the winter and then allowing it to fill with water. So when it comes to shutting down here with these 3 butterfly valves, we want them to be halfway open, halfway closed, which is pretty much every one of them at like this angle. That's going to allow water and air to move freely all throughout the manifold and empty out in preparation for freezing. Our backwash valve here, we want it open for similar reasons. It's good to have these guys open. That's open. That's closed. And then we want that one open. And then we want the cap off of that. So just as an informational thing for everyday operation as well, these butterfly valves, they all during day-to-day operation, we move them together. And so we want them all horizontal or all vertical. Horizontal is going to be for the running, like when we're just setting the system to run and filter. And then vertical is going to be the backwash configuration. And the way that I remember that is when we have them all horizontal and your fingers can run across the levers, you are ready to run. So this and that, they're pretty much redundant. That used to be the old way that we would purge at the beginning of the year and drain the pool. Now we have both. It's going to be completely normal for dirty water to be coming out of both of these. And then of course, once we empty the pool, cap goes back on and stays on for the entire season, and that closes. These used to serve the purpose of supplying a chlorinator that used to sit right here. There's a couple of reasons why we don't do that anymore, and it has to do with unpredictable chlorination. Like it would get to dangerous high levels and we wouldn't even know it. So that's why we don't do that. So for day-to-day operation, they just get closed. Inside this little hole, sometimes buried under dirt, is going to be your standard hose faucet. That gets opened in the winter and then closed once for the entire season. What that does is it empties out this clean return line in preparation for freezing. So this is going to be the clean return to the jets. That's going to be dirty water flowing to the filters. Here we have a place to put a cap. I usually keep that on the shelf in the pump house. So in the pump house, we have our main manifold with 3 different places that pool water can come and be dealt with. We have first the skimmer valve, then we have the vacuum valve, and the main drain. So this only receives water from that little nozzle on the side of the pool wall on the deep end. This pulls from all 6 skimmers, and this is a valve that we use for like equilibrium, to let air out if we ever need to, or let water out at the end of the season. When we are winterizing, we want to open this skimmer valve. Open means for this lever to be down. Open this, which means for this to be in line with the pipe, and close the main drain. By doing that, the only place in this entire room where water is going to stay and kind of has to stay for the winter is from here there. And that's just how it is. For the entire 8 years I've worked with the plumbing, that's just how it is. And we haven't had any issues with that. And this corkscrew is directly attached to the gate of the gate valve. So when it comes up, the gate's moved. When the corkscrew goes down, the gate is now closing the valve. On our pump, we have 2 outlets to deal with puddled water in the winter. These just twist off, and then you see one back there. That's going to let water out of here and the impeller housing. We want to take the hair catcher basket out. There's no need for it all winter, and this lid comes off. At least you want to loosen it so that air can flow in and out of that chamber if it needs to. But when all of that's done, like I said, there's no water anywhere in here. So in a few days, they're going to try to take some of the water out of the pool, that as in like the dirty green water, and get to working cleaning out the pool. So anything I've shown, any configuration I've shown now, is how you would set the pipes and the valves for your first of the season run. And I even allowed this to fill with as much water as we can. There's a little bit of air at the top, but that should come out just fine. And the water probably comes up to about here, just passively from gravity or whatever. I think we have some air in the top of this line, but that should come out no problems whatsoever when the pump gets turned on, because at least our impeller's got water in it. This gadget is solely for twisting on and off that big 4-inch white cap out there. It's really important when we're working with very dirty first of the season water that we don't include the hair catcher in the system. It would almost certainly clog up within a few minutes. And when it comes to powering on this entire system, now that we've got it configured, my recommendation, because you never know what happened to all these pipes over the winter. We hope for the best. I recommend turning this breaker on, flipping that breaker, and letting the breaker up in the main pool house be the switch for it. I wouldn't want to be in there if a pipe decided it wanted to crack over the winter. And then briefly, we got these valves open for winter, closed for the summer. Top off of that, there's any low spot in there is going to empty out that blue valve. We want this guy to come off, and we want this set to winter, and that guy off. And then continuing with the small pool plumbing, we want opened here, open. There is
this hose that we want to take off and put back on. That's the only way that water gets out of this chamber. And then over here we're loosening this up and making sure that a little bit of water leaks out down there. And when we're winterizing, because this can also collect water. So this and this can collect water we need to deal with for the winter.
So now we'll talk a little bit about turning on the municipal clean water supply. Because it's such a long system, some of these pipes are 1.5 inches in diameter, a lot of pressure can be created as it then tries to fill back up after being emptied. So I always kept any and all of those, I think it's just 2. I kept those 2 open when we flip on the water at the street curb, along with that hose pipe over there. Of course, they can be closed after the system is full of water. As far as in the locker rooms, it's obvious, you want to open up any faucets you have, leave them open all winter long. I put some RV antifreeze in the toilets, and then if I have some, or this year I used de-icer, that's all I could find. Some de-icer in the traps of sinks is a good idea if you have it. That's worked really well. Done that the last 5 years through all those single-digit winters we had. But then we have that guy needs to be open to allow like air and water into the system for winterization. I'm going to go ahead and close that. It doesn't need to be wide open when we turn the municipal flow on. But yeah, these sinks should all be open. And same thing for the ladies' room. Oh yeah, and don't forget about that hose faucet. So one of the reasons we open up the skimmer valve is to allow all these to drain. We shouldn't have any water in these pipes through the winter. As far as wintertime water levels, we've all seen it at this level. It is a very deliberate level that I think was kind of designed into the system. It allows the jet lines to be dry, and any plumbing in these walls to be dry. And I just think that's how it was meant to happen for winterization. And then when we first open up these valves, the baby pool goes completely dry. As for why it builds back up throughout the winter, I don't know. But this is the level that I would consider normal through the winter.